All right, guys, welcome back to Rick Ingraham Talks to Strangers. We're here. When does this come out? Do we have any idea? April? I'm going to do some topical stuff about what's going on in April. So that way they have the illusion that this is live. And listen, what happened yesterday, unbelievable. We just can't believe it, and our hearts go out to whoever it is that it happened to. So smart. You got to get ahead of it, you know? Luckily, in today's world, there's enough tragedy that it works almost every time.
You're always really sorry for tragic world.
Yeah. That's what I want my comedy show to be about. Just tragic world news. The funniest kind. My stranger today, Zack, Aga?
Yep.
What kind of last name is that?
It's Syrian, I guess. It's Turkish background, but like when my family came over from Turkey, they were like, "Here, this is your name." Like it was actually.
Oh, it was given to you.
Yeah, it was given.
The family.
Yeah, it used to be Aaron, I think. It's
That
weird.
actually seems more Americanized.
Yeah, it's like Eren though.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that throws them off, and then
Yeah.
they all get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Zack. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What I know about you is that you owned a nightclub in Shanghai. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is Shanghai? Is that still what it's called? Didn't they change the name of some of the cities?
They
That's
did.
Beijing.
It's Shanghai.
Okay.
Yeah. Now.
So my Kansas dialect version of it is not accurate, is what you're telling me.
No.
It was it Shanghai? I'm going off of an Owen Wilson movie. I think is about all I know. How does that happen? How does someone become a club owner in China?
It wasn't easy. Had to do a lot of things. It's like there's obviously like a ton of bureaucracy over there, and it's really difficult to get like anything done.
Yeah.
But you essentially have to team up with someone who is local there, who has like a name,
Right.
You know, and we pitched this woman on this concept. Actually, a buddy of mine that I moved out there with, and I'm not gonna mention his name, but it starts with a C and ends with a J, and
Okay.
we were out there and we just kind of like had this idea based on like a friend's house that we partied at in high school. It was like my friend's parents were like divorced, and his mom was left with this like massive mansion that she's like hoarded through and just like let go to shit. Like,
Nice.
It was, like really
Perfect
sad.
party house.
Yeah, and then he had like a sauna area, like another building that we just like owned and just had parties in all the time. And then like when she was gone, or like she would just lock herself in her room, and we would just have these massive parties in a house. So that was kind of like the concept for the club, was like it was called the
House
Mansion.
party. Okay.
Yeah, and it was like a house party all the time, and every level had some kind of other genre of music or another kind of vibe. And then the back like yard, we actually like cut down a bunch of trees. Huge no-no
Yeah,
in China, which we didn't know. Like,
I'm sure they're cool
we're
with that.
just like, get rid of those. And it's like apparently like like 150,000 RMB per tree that you cut down. We cut down like 40.
Nice.
Yeah. And like we had no idea. We're just like, yeah, clear the trees. We're putting a swimming pool and a beach in the background. We're gonna have like a cabana bar in the back.
Sure.
And then we had like built like a space shuttle that was like that had like looked like it flew into the side of the building. And we were leasing this mansion. We were leasing it, and we just completely like gutted it and turned it into this party, like 3 levels. And then the second 2 like were like hostel type, where like staff, like aspiring artists could live there and like work there to live there for free.
Okay.
I guess it was a cult now that I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it.
I mean, it definitely sounds stranger by the explanation, which is nice.
But it was just like, so like people like lived in there. They were all like
Are these-
artistic people.
Are these like foreigners or are these
Some-
Chinese people?
Some foreigners just like traveling, like.
Yeah.
But people came there and then like they just fell in love with it and didn't want to leave.
People like
and-
house parties.
Yeah, and like it was just like initially we were gonna do like Friday to like Sunday or Monday, but it took off, and we ended up like there's like the giant, like the largest freeway in Shanghai is called like the Yan'an Freeway.
Okay.
We had issues because it was like a really nice gated community getting in like for the house party. So we were like, maybe we can just cut a hole into the sidewalk
Why
where
not?
the freeway was.
I'm sure that's going to be fine.
Yeah. And we just winged it and just went for it. And
What I like is your game plan is risk taking. Like that's what you're like. They don't have laws here, do they? And you're like, no, it's China. The government doesn't care about anything.
It's funny that you say that because that's how it feels as a foreigner in China.
Yeah.
But like, locals, Chinese in China are like, whoa, no way,
Yeah.
But like you have this like feeling of like you're untouchable, as a foreigner there. Like we would ride mopeds and you're not supposed to have someone on the back. And like the cops would try to stop us and they'd like try to wave us down and we'd just wave back at them and just keep going. And
Unbelievable.
yeah. And they're just like, well,
fantastic American mentality.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, the laws don't apply to us while we're here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's our laws. Like, this isn't okay in America either. It's someone's laws.
It's a lot of paperwork for them, and
Yeah.
then they have to call a translator to come in, and it's like, but yes, we like played that like dumb foreigner
Right.
like, card all the time. You're just like. Ting budong. It's just like I don't understand. I don't speak. I speak fluent Mandarin, but like
Not when the authorities
not
are
when
there.
they're there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not spoken English when police officers were asking questions.
How'd that work out?
I don't speak any other languages, so they just kind of looked at me like I was obviously a moron. But I was in
and then
college,
they saw
so
your
it was
Kansas
fine.
ID. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, checks out.
Yeah. This explains it. He's
Yeah.
a little slow,
Yeah.
so gets me every time. Now, why do you speak Mandarin? What made you learn Mandarin?
So it's funny. Like when I first went out there, I was studying abroad, and then
Okay.
like I got into the nightlife scene pretty quickly because I'm like a college kid and I have all this freedom now. And
Yeah, no laws.
yeah, no laws at all in China. Anybody who's wondering,
You're studying abroad over at spring break.
Yeah.
in Shanghai.
like you can legitimately, like not legitimately, illegitimately,
Yeah.
legitimately pay for your classes, like for your grades, and
Nice.
it's like cheap,
Yeah.
So
This is an educational podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize how things work.
Like, and it seems like it's like 1,500. Sounds like I don't know. Maybe that's a lot of money. Maybe it's not. It's like $200.
So $200 and you're a great student.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, and I always thought that they were a lot smarter than us, but now I know they just had 200 bones
Not
to
the
spare.
foreigners who study there.
Yeah,
the,
yeah, that's
the
probably
ones
true.
that come over here and study.
So how do you pick China to go study at if you don't speak the language?
My dad really kind of was like, hey, like China's the next big thing. My dad, like, I'm like an artist. I'm a musician. Like I love like I'm a very creative person. My dad is like super strict, like immigrant, like
Right.
moved here, Arab, was like, you're going to be a lawyer or businessman or doctor,
Yeah.
So like for him, it was like I was getting in a little bit of trouble too. Like I was just not like I grew up in Florida. So that
Okay.
just kind of
Yes.
sums that up.
We get it. We
Yeah.
get it.
My dad's like, China's probably a better place, and
Unbelievable. I mean, your father was legitimately trying to get you imprisoned in a Chinese prison. That was his plan.
maybe that was maybe his
You know what?
long-term,
You know
yeah.
what would teach him a lesson?
Yeah.
You're not going to get this here in Florida.
It's funny 'cause she's looking at me like that's pretty true.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wasn't intentional, but yeah, that's how it worked out for him and me. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like he was like, learn Chinese business. Like if you can come back and be speaking Mandarin, like everything comes from China. Like it's the future. Like it wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah.
To
Worst,
go-
worst case scenario, it just doesn't hurt you.
Worst case. Yeah.
Once you get over there, you'll find out what real freedom feels like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you do end up going to jail. Is that right?
Yep.
So you're jailed. What are they? Which one of the many violations you've already mentioned did they finally jail you for?
Surprisingly,
A different one.
No, I lucked out. Like it was none of the the
None of the
serious
stuff
laws
so
that
far,
I
okay.
broke. I'm very grateful for how much I lucked out. Like there was like kids that did a lot less than I had done that ended up in there a lot longer. You know,
Right.
just like so I punched a cop.
So smart.
Yeah.
So smart. The thing is the cops over there, they don't even have authority. It's like, it's almost, they're like mall security guards.
And like I had just just imprinted that in my mind for so long and just like had such a lack of respect for them. I'm
Yeah.
like, they could never catch me on the moped.
So,
They're not gonna catch me now.
You got a high-speed vehicle like a moped.
Yeah.
So in your mind, as this is happening, first of all, what are the cops hassling you for?
Drugs.
Drugs. Okay.
Yeah.
So they suspect you of drugs at least, and in your mind, the thought process is knock this guy out one punch, like in a movie, walk away scot-free.
I mean,
How many cops were around?
there were 6,
Okay.
and then there were another 6 outside.
Yeah.
But I seriously, like, my thought process at that moment was like, I'm going to jail for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
I was fighting for my life, like, in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, hindsight, I found out I would have only gone to jail for like 10 days
Yeah.
for what I did.
Well, again, their laws are so unpredictable over there.
I was like, I'm getting the death penalty. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so screwed, like,
Yeah.
and I actually got out of the doors. Like I punched the biggest cop. Like,
Smart.
yeah.
Because, again, if you're going to be initiated in the gang, you need them to know.
Well, it's like, I don't know. I've heard it's like you go for the biggest guy first.
You
and
take
then-
him out.
And then the other guys get intimidated, you
Yeah.
know? And like, I'm big in China, you
Yeah.
know? I'm 5'9". Like,
Damn.
I'm a
Damn,
huge
yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah. So like, I just hit him and I just started running for it. The security guard at the hotel grabbed my hoodie. Like, it's funny because how I remembered it, I just like punched one and like ran. No, like I was like shoving cops out of the way.
Yeah.
Like they played the video in court and I like my story was completely different than what happened. I was like, I just like punched them and ran and that was it. They're like, they played it back and I like was brawling with these guys and like trying to get my hoodie off and threw another guy. Like I'm not a big guy, but I wrestled and
You're from Florida.
I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
I've been in a few street fights
Sure.
and I booked it for the door and I got outside and there were just 6 more cops waiting for me.
So
And
excited.
They body slammed me onto my face. My glasses went like flying. I ended up being I have really bad eyesight. I ended up being in jail for like 45 days, the first 45 with no glasses, like with just like
Damn.
horrible eyesight.
That's nice. So that way everyone seems like a shadowy figure.
Yeah, my
Well,
eyes
that's
got
like the-
better.
it's
They
like
did
the ultimate,
get,
yeah.
like marginally better,
Yeah.
just being in there without them on for
Trying to focus. And
Yeah, but it was nice because like it's all propaganda all the time, and like in the jail, like,
Yeah.
they play propaganda for like 5 hours a day, and you're just supposed to like when you first get in there, you have to they call it class, and it's just like propaganda, and then
what
if you-
kind of stuff are they throwing at you? Just about how great China is?
yeah, pretty much like how great China is, how bad of a person you are, that you're like you deserve and belong to be there, like you're a
Right.
flawed human being, like you're at fault for whatever you did, and like it's just like running and you sit like 3 times a day plus the 2 times a day that everybody else sits. When you first get in there, you have to sit 5 times a day in class. And you sit for an hour. It's on a hardwood floor, like on your butt, which doesn't like it sounds like whatever, but after like 5 days of that, your
Yeah.
butt is so sore. And then I was there for like 9 months. So I was just sitting on my ass, like on hardwood floor, and you just can't get comfortable. Like I still have like hip problems and like back issues, like from being on the
Jesus.
ground. Cause it's like you sit on the ground, you eat on the ground, you lay on the floor, you sleep on the floor. It's like, it's a room like maybe twice the size of this podcasting room, but like 12 guys are sleeping like sardines, shoulder to shoulder.
And how many of them are foreigners? Is you and
Not that many. Because I spoke fluent Mandarin, I was like just everything worked out. Like, I know I ended up in jail there, but like aside from that, everything worked in my favor.
Couldn't have been a better experience.
It was like, yeah, it's like I paid my dues, and then like everything was like I knew guys that were in that room for 4.5 years and never got to leave.
Damn.
But because I spoke English and Mandarin, I was able to leave the room to translate for other guys, which was really wild. Like I'm writing a memoir about it now because it was like I didn't hear through hearsay. Like you hear a lot through hearsay in this jail because like you get moved to another room sometimes, or like they like if you have a disagreement with one of the inmates, they like send you to another room. Like I got transferred a room one time, but like I got to hear firsthand the stories of like guys, other foreigners that were in prison in China.
Right.
Because I was translating for them. Like one guy was actually one of the Nigerian prince scam guys.
Nice.
Yeah, and he got like $450,000 from a Chinese woman. He scammed her out of $450,000, and for him, he only got like 4 years or 3 years. And I was like, geez, that's like $150,000 a year. And he's like, I know, and it was
he's
like,
loving it.
Yeah, he's like, it's great, and I don't have to worry where my meals are coming from. I know I'm going to be fed here, and like for him, it was totally worth it. And like for me, it's like the most devastating experience ever.
Yeah.
And I, but I got to hear these stories firsthand from these guys, and I got to like exit the room to translate for these guys.
You at least got some diversity in the day. So you're
Yeah.
not just staring at the same walls all the time.
Yeah, but because of that, like I was around more foreigners than other foreigners probably
right.
were. So they like when
Yeah.
foreigners first got in, they would put them in my cell so that I could translate to the warden like their story, and then so there was always probably at least one or two other foreigners in there with me, at least for like a few days,
Right.
and then they would take them out.
Damn. Well, tonight's episode brought to you by Chinese prisons. Come have a good time. That's their slogan, right? Chinese prisons, come have a good time.
Yeah.
All right, so you're in there 9 months, and I mean, do they tell you this is how long you're in? Are you just like waiting? Like it might be years. I might get out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Is like I was in a place. The place that I would have initially gone to if I just got caught for the drugs for 10 days. And it was like the worst place I'd ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And I had a bed. And it was like a piece of wood on another piece of wood, but it was a bed.
Right.
Because when I didn't have a bed, I was like, no, that was a bed.
Yeah.
And when I was leaving, they like strip search me, take me out, and I was like, wait, like why are you strip searching me when I'm just going home, and they're like, no, like your sentence hasn't even started yet. And so when I got in there, they take pictures, they do your fingerprints, they do all this, and like they say, okay, this doctor gives you a paper and he says, all right, we're doing a 3-day trial period. And I can read Mandarin, so I'm like, okay, it says like 3-day, that's how long I'm going to be in there. And I'm like, not bad at all, right?
Yeah, 3, okay.
Yeah, and then the 3 days goes by, and they hand another thing through the bars, and they're like, 7-day extension.
Damn.
And then it's like 1 month extension, 1 month extension, 1 month extension, and you don't know how long you're going to be in there until you get your trial. And then after like a 3-month extension, I got my indictment papers, which said 3 years.
Damn.
So like that's when things like were like dark.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna be in this cell for 3 years.
What are you thinking? I got to break out of here, or are you thinking like I just have to suck it up? I mean, there's no rules in the prison either.
No,
you could have just left, probably.
I mean, if I'm gonna be like honest and you're thinking suicide.
Yeah.
Like you're totally like that is what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And like luckily I had guys in there. Like I had this other guy who like I really won't say his name just because like his case is so serious in China right now that was in there for 4.5 years.
Right.
And and he helped me a lot. Like some of these older guys, like a 65-year-old man who's in there doing the same thing that I'm doing at like 25, 26. And
Right.
I'm like, there's no there's no way like I shouldn't be able to like toughen up and just handle this. Like if this guy, like he has had like surgeries and back issues and all this stuff, and like so there were like inspiring people in there, and he would always say to me, he's like, you're gonna be in here for a few months. Like everybody in there was like, you're gonna just be in here a couple months, they're gonna extend it. Like nobody thought I would be in there very long. They're like, you're an American, they don't want to cause any trouble with America, like you'll be fine. So it was a lot of that kind of gave me a little bit more hope. But yeah, for sure, like that thought goes through your mind. But the thing is I was in a cell too with like a convicted murderer that you have night watch, like, which is basically someone has to be actively watching this person. He's like on suicide watch 24 hours a day.
But he's in a cell just laying next to you, basically?
Yeah, he is. And sometimes, like, if he gets in trouble, they chain him against a wall.
Sweet
and
Jesus,
yeah.
This sounds like a good time. Come on by, Chinese prisons. Oh.
He had shackles on all the time. And so this is actually, like, I mean, it's kind of funny thinking back at it. But when I first got there, like, nobody knew. They thought I was at this first place. So, like, all the stuff, like, everything they sent to the consulate, like they send information to the American consulate, and they're like, hey, so-and-so has been arrested. He's at this location. Well, by the time they got that information, they had transferred me to the other place. So the consulate went there to find me, to, like, notify my family and, like, send me, like, you know, money or whatever. And they couldn't find me for 45 days, which is why, like, I couldn't get glasses. I couldn't get anything.
Right.
So I didn't have any money for the first 45 days in there. And, like, not that you can buy a whole lot with like money in there, but I'm hypoglycemic, like, or I was before I went there. I don't think I am anymore.
They cured you?
Which is crazy. Like, yeah, I think like the adrenaline.
Chinese prisons will cure what ails you.
Yeah, and like I would need like little breads at night, you know, because you finish dinner at like 4:30 and you don't eat until like 7:30 the next day, you know. So I would get very low blood sugar. Like I passed out in there a couple of times, and But so what I did is for the night watch, this is pretty crazy, but I would start doing other guys' night watch duties. So you're supposed to sit there for like the first watch is like 2.5 hours, and then they wake the next guy up and they go back to sleep. They go to sleep, and then you're like, if I was the second guy, then I go and do night watch. Well, the new guys, they all do the 2.5 hour night watch. So,
right.
So like, I would do that one, and then I would do like the third night watch, and I would trade doing people's night watch for like some bread and apples. And so like I ended up like within 45 days had like more food than a lot of people in there, because I had basically like traded my night watch services for food.
Yeah.
And then like I was translating for a lot of like some other foreigners, a lot of Nigerian guys that I made friends with in there, like, you know, lifelong friendships I built in there.
You're part of the royalty now.
Yeah. So,
you're like the Duke, the Nigerian Duke.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they would come in, and then I started like basically like translating for them to do night watch for other people, and then like I would like take a cut of what they got for night watch.
Night watch manager.
Yeah, and I would like when they came in, I would like give a couple things to them. I'd be like, "Yo, here's some bread, you know, like here's a pack of noodles, you know." But like, if you want more of where this came from, like
so smooth.
Yeah, and then we got caught, and I got moved and got in trouble.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, you were basically the Red from Shawshank Redemption of this Chinese prison. Morgan Freeman was playing you, and wow. So one, amazing that you were cured. That's some dark magic right there that worked in your favor. Two, have you thanked them for curing you of? Maybe send a letter just saying.
Yeah, I thought about it. It's funny. One of the wardens in there, like, cause I had a production company out there too, and like it went from like actually like being homeless to like a clothing store, which like I found a partner on, and we teamed up, and we like came up with this concept. Like, you know, I'm marketing and branding. Like, that's what I went to school for. Like, I've always done advertising, and I love building brands. So it was like that into nightclub, into production company. And so like at like the peak of my career out there, I was like running this nightclub and had this production company. So the warden knew that I had a production company and was like, you got to take pictures of my family.
Yeah,
and
obviously.
I was like, yeah, sure thing. You know, like sure enough, he's like, when you get out, you know, like, can you take some good photos for me? And I was, yeah, of course I will. You know,
Yeah.
They took me straight from there, like to the airport, and I was deported, and I'm like banned from China now. But
I mean, it sounds like some photos need to be taken.
I know. I attempted, you know, so like I tried to thank him.
They're saying you're banned. What I'm saying is they don't have rules over there. So what you do is you fly back in under an alias, definitely give them a fake passport.
Yep.
And you at least get the photos taken, and then tell the warden, I broke some laws. Could you get me back in? You know,
for some free photos,
free bread.
Here's a couple.
He literally hands you an apple slice, and you're like, oh, this is for the photos? So you love apple slices. Everyone knows
funny.
that.
That was like our currency, and there was apples.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, how many apples is this worth?
God damn. That's a scary world to live in. All right, so then they deport you. So you get out of jail. How do you find out? Do they tell you like tomorrow you're free, or
They no, you
You
go
have
to
a trial?
You go
Yeah.
to trial. I got my trial at like 7 months. And I went to my trial. They basically said like my total sentence was actually like 8.5 months, and then I was in that other place for 10 days. So it was like my full sentence was 8.5 months plus the 10 days. So it's like I rounded up 5 days, you know. But it's
Right.
They tell you this is your date that you're supposed to get out. I didn't get out on that day. I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, which is also very frustrating.
yeah? Because then you're like, how long are they going to keep
Yeah,
this up?
and there was other scandals and things going on where like they kept like totally innocent guys in there, like some French guy was his name was on paperwork for a bakery that had expired flour, and the guy got like thrown under the bus and was in jail for like a year, and
Damn.
like yeah, like it was wild. So like you hear stories like that and you're like, oh God, they're just gonna keep me in here.
Yeah.
And then they came to the guy and they're like, sign this paper that says you're guilty and we'll let you out. And he was like, hell no.
Yeah, I'm not signing that shit.
Yeah, and just like kept like
Yeah.
giving it back to them. And eventually, like after like French government had gotten involved and like it was a huge story. He ended up getting out like 2 weeks after his release date, and mine was like 2 or 3 days, I think, after my release date.
Still terrifying though.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
then you fly back. You go to where? Florida?
No, I came right to California.
You came to California.
Yeah.
And so do you call your parents and tell them I'm back in America? I'm out of jail.
Yeah, I have a sister in California, so it was kind of like that was the plan for me to come here and just like still like stay away from Florida and kind of like start a new life out here. So my father knew that I was coming out to California.
Worst place for you to live, Chinese prison or Florida?
Definitely Chinese prison. Like,
Yeah.
I wish I grew up on a beautiful island in Florida. Actually, it's like it's a lot of rednecks. Like my dad, he's an immigrant, but like he was like Americanized in the South.
He embraced the culture.
So he's like an Arab redneck. Like
Is he into NASCAR?
he's not in NASCAR, but he's into cars. He's
Okay.
into fixing cars and boats and
Wow.
like like I was telling her like our lawn was like just like a bunch of junk, but like really nice junk. Like we had like really nice like fishing boats that were like broken down and like an old Range Rover and like
Yeah.
so it was like redneck but like
Yeah.
Arab still.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And-
Classy, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. My dad loves Leonard Skinner.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Just the thought of Middle Eastern immigrants listening to Skinner it's like one of
It's
the
a
most
thing.
beautiful things I've ever heard in my
It's
life.
a thing. They all love him. Yeah, they
Wow.
all love Leonard.
Man, that's great. All right, well, we're going to take a break, and then Sarah's going to come and ask some follow-up questions and find out a little bit more about the life of Zack. So we'll be right back.
All right.
Say hi to everyday people.
Guys, Winks just hit me with it was a seriously, it felt like I was molested by the wink. It was extra special. We're back. Sarah's here.
I'm here.
Sarah, this is Zack.
I know. I'm so fascinated by this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm more fascinated that you were quiet. You were like listening.
Yeah.
You were like intrigued.
I keep waiting. I'm like,
Unless you have low blood sugar right now.
it's plummeting. I ate a cookie in the car
You
just to
did?
make sure that it didn't get low.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, Chinese prison, that's fascinating every time.
So there was a Russian kid that thought he was going to mug this guy. And like the thing is like robbery in China is very frowned upon. Like that's like serious. Like you're
Ridiculous.
Worse than murder?
ridiculous. It's
Ridiculous.
not. It's like equivalent.
Oh,
It's very close. Yeah. He beat this man up, took what ended up being, and they charge you based on how much you take. So he took what ended up being over 1 million RMB, which is like that's like the worst sentence, and which ends up being like it was over $150,000 in different currencies. So he had like Australian dollars, euro, dollars, and
He probably bought so many Prada shoes and sunglasses with that.
He would have, except for that.
except he got caught.
He was buying apples and hoping to get a little extra sleep by handing him over.
Imagine the amount of Drakkar Noir knockoffs he could have bought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's
Okay, so he stole that. And how long did he get?
I don't know how long he got, but when I was in there translating with him, the warden was like, "Why did you steal it?" And the guy turns to me and he goes, "Because I wanted to go on a trip to Thailand." And like I know enough about Chinese culture to like know that they appreciate a story, and like that's just like harsh. Like there's no reason to beat a man to go to Thailand. You know?
It's not.
They don't even
my
like
kid is
Thailand.
sick
Right.
and-
Yeah, right.
You got to give him some sort of a saga.
I did, and so like I just completely like fabricated his story, and I was like, I'm telling him that you have kids in Russia that are hungry. You have 2 kids, and you need to pay for their school and their food, and you were trying to send money back to Russia. And I'm like, but that's your story. Are you okay with that? And he's like, yeah. And that's what I told. And the guy looks at me, he goes, that's what he said to you? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what he
what he
said.
said.
Yeah. The way you say kids in Russian is Thailand. So it's a loose translation, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then also like, I did you ever eat anything crazy or drink any? Like I cannot. Every time I've ever been to Asia, I feel like their menus and stuff are just so fascinating to me. So
Yeah.
She means weird.
Yeah,
no, I mean, but cocktails like just different.
So when
Fun to
when I first got there, they have a thing called baijiu, which is just rice wine. That's what it translates to.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know, like 65 to 75% alcohol. Like it's
Wow.
insane
A
how
lot.
much alcohol. Yeah. And there was this bar, and we would like make bets, and inside the bar they had all these jars of fermented things.
Oh,
Yeah.
One was just these fermented like mushroom things, and baijiu already tastes like I'm not like it tastes like regurgitated alcohol vomit. Like that's what it tastes like, because it has the taste of alcohol,
Kind of.
yeah. But it also tastes like it's been like regurgitated.
Some
like
stomach
acid.
acid mixed in
Yeah.
there. Nice.
So we had like,
It'll cost you a couple apples to
know.
get a bottle of that.
and then so I've lost a bet and had to take a shot of baby rat fetus baijiu.
what?
Fermented baby rats.
And
it was gross. It was like you think you can't get much grosser than like this already horrid alcohol.
Yeah.
did you vomit or did you?
No, I didn't. I vomited when I drank several shots of it. Like it.
You drink more than
No,
one?
not the baby rat one. But like then
Like, how many bets did
rice
you
wine in
lose?
general.
Yeah.
I bet you can't beat up 12 cops.
I should mention I have a gambling problem.
Yeah.
No way you take out the big cop on the first punch. Get me a rotting turtle and some rice wine. Let's do this.
Cracked his knuckles. I'm also gonna take a shot of cracked knuckles. Okay.
We went on this trip, like a day trip up to the mountains, and this guy was like a villager there. He had never seen foreigners before, and I convinced him that all foreigners speak Mandarin.
Yeah, smart. No, we all do.
I was like, that's interesting. I've never met a Chinese person before. Like we were just having this conversation. And I was like, we all speak everywhere in the world. They all speak Mandarin.
Yeah,
and
clearly.
This guy's like, no way. And he goes, try some of my baijiu. And like, you can't turn a guy down. And especially like drinking and like taking shots, like they down bottles of like nice wine, like like they'll fill up a glass full. Like the word for cheers in Chinese is make it dry. So there's no like,
Whoa.
oh cheers, take a nice sip of your expensive champagne. No,
Right.
you always down it. So he pulls out this jar and it's a tiger paw.
Get out.
It's a fermented tiger paw.
Yeah.
And this guy is so proud. He's like, this is not cheap, like this is the
Yeah, no
nicest
shit.
stuff. It's a fermented tiger paw.
Honestly, if I walk into a bar and they don't have it, I just leave. You know what I mean? Because you're in a classless place. Let me get 6 shots of Tiger Paw lined up.
Wait, and did you try it?
I
You
tried
had
it,
to,
yeah. I had to. And
does it taste the same? As
no,
the
it
rat?
all just tastes gross in its own
I don't know.
way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
it's a
gross with a hint of tiger
Yeah,
paw.
it's a rotting Tiger Paw this time.
Did he make that himself?
Yeah, they make it.
So he caught the tiger.
He
No,
probably
he said
bought
he
a
said
paw to
He
market.
bought a paw. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he
It's
bought a
China.
paw.
You can buy lots of animal
It's
parts
like
there.
yeah, like
No-
a wet market. Is that what they
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah, another paw story.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yep.
Not a good one.
Oh no.
So like,
I don't
The
believe
other
there.
ones were good.
I don't believe there's a bad paw story. That's just me.
so I went backpacking. I had a friend like from Georgia. He's like very flamboyantly Southern and gay. You know,
Fun.
and so
Yeah, that's
it's
a
like,
great combo.
Yeah, and so it's like at the time I couldn't read Mandarin, but I could speak it. And he studied in university, so he could read it but not speak it.
Okay.
So I could speak it and not read. So together we were like half of like a Chinese 8-year-old, you know?
Nice,
Like
yeah.
it's like
Sure.
you just read, and he would be like, this is beef, this is chicken, and I would order it because I knew how to say those words. So we went on this like backpacking trip together, and we end up in like the poorest province of China, which is Guilin province. It's the most beautiful province in China, but it's just mountainous.
It's
so
very
there's
rural.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I would go to like restaurants to order, and I would be like, I want chicken, and they're like, oh, we have chicken. They had all of the innards and the
Insides,
gizzards
yeah.
and like the neck and like the feet, but they sold all their meat because they didn't have that much of it, so like they could make money, and they would eat the insides of the chicken. And it was the same thing with the cow, or they're like, yeah, we've got cow, yeah. Like cow heart, you want cow heart? Like, so I pretty much just like went to like juice stands and like drank like these like blended juice drinks, and I ended up getting sick because like my immune system was like, I was just basically surviving on like juice drinks and apples, surprisingly. Yeah.
Not
And
surprising if you know anything about China.
And like Snickers, I would go into a store and like buy. They would have stores with like candy, you
No
know,
rice? Like they don't.
rice. No, there was. I did eat some rice, but like I just felt like these places were so gross. Like some of these,
Right.
you know, like at least the fruit, I saw them like open the fruit and cut it, and like I knew that it was more fresh. Like
Okay.
so. We finally found like the food street, and we're all excited, and the famous thing there is the fish, but this is Guilin province. So like you might have heard something about Guilin, and when we're walking down the food street, I see this like cart of skewers like being pushed down the road, and I would like when you see paws on a skewer, you don't know what you're looking at. Like it's
kind of
just, like
paw.
as an American, you're like, what in God's name
that
is
seems
this?
odd. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, so, and I asked the woman, I go, like, like, what is this? And she goes, goro, dog meat.
Ugh.
And it was a dog paw skewer, and they just had them lined up like lollipops. Like, it was just like they were just sticking out of her cart, and she's like,
You can pick your breed, that kind of thing. How does that work? Is it extra for Dalmatian or something exotic?
that's
breed.
exotic, but normally
Yeah.
they use those for rice wine.
Smart.
Yeah,
You-
just make a fine rice wine.
Yeah.
Right, depending on the size of the
Severed
paw.
Dalmatian head wine.
Yeah, those are.
my
That's a delicacy.
Wow.
I always feel like I'm trying to think of, like, I haven't been to China, but I've been to Japan, and like it's teppanyaki, I think is what they call the skewers in Japan, but like it was always just like we'd go to yakitori. Yeah, they would have like a menu, like they'd have one in English and it was like handwritten, and it was like every part of the animal. And I just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just have a beer. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Like,
and-
I'm like, I don't know, I can't do it.
The translation in China is really bad too. Like, there's like word they just try to translate it. It's like people will go and be like, yeah, I speak English, and apply for this job as a translator, and they have no idea what they're saying. Like, I've seen in stores, like, there's a word, it's like gancai, it's like dry vegetables, but gan, like, if you use the wrong tone or use the wrong character, it translates to like fuck. And so like I've just seen in a store like fuck vegetables.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so-
those are the good ones. Eggplants, zucchinis, cucumbers.
Yeah, the text ones.
Yeah.
So how long were you out there total?
I was there 9 years.
Wow. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So you went out there to go to college, but the only time you went to class was in prison. And then
Yeah, different kind of class, but
had
yeah.
class. And then after, did you graduate out there, or did
Yeah.
Okay. And then you
He had
were
enough money.
homeless.
He had $1,000 to graduate from college out there.
Yeah. But then you said you were homeless for a little bit, so I
Yeah,
just wanted to hear about
so-
that real quick.
The homeless situation actually, okay, so I had overstayed my visa and not really like realized that it was like I don't know exactly how, like I overstayed my visa by like some like ridiculous mistake. It was just dumb. So like the second I found out, like I wasn't intentionally doing it. Like I like got on the train and I went down to the Hong Kong border because you like I had like at the time it was like I had an entry like an exit enter visa. So like I had to exit every 90 days. So I went to exit and they basically told me that I couldn't leave. And so I had to come back to Shanghai. Then I went to a police station and they gave me like a temporary visa, but it's a Black Star visa, which is basically you're getting deported. So they sent me to Hong Kong. So I flew to Hong Kong with this visa, and then I ended up in Hong Kong, and I went to the American Embassy and I was like, hey, I need a new visa. And there's like only one guy that works at the American Embassy in Hong Kong, and like you talk to him every day. So I sent him an email and I was like, hey, I had this thing happen and they gave me this Black Star visa. He's like, oh man, yeah, you probably have to go back to America before you can get a new visa. And then I like started calling friends and I was like, hey, like, do you guys know of any like underground visa spots?
Yeah.
So I got directed to one, and I go in there, and there's this like
Oh no.
Swedish gangster dude in a suit, like hairy chest, like rings all on his hand. And
Yes.
he's like, and I went there, he was in there, and they denied my visa. And he goes, just lose your passport, get a new passport, and then reapply for the visa, and you'll be good to go. So like, this is like 3 days after.
Some back channel shit. I like it. Yeah.
So this is after I talked to the guy at the embassy, the one guy. And so I like messaged him again. I'm like, oh my God, all my stuff got stolen on the subway.
Smart.
And the guy just goes, wow, it's been a real tough week for you, hasn't it? Well, let's get you a new visa. Let's get you a new passport.
So smart.
I like totally saw through it. But he was like, yeah, we got you. So I got a temporary visa, a temporary passport. Then I tried to get a visa on that, and they denied it again.
Oh.
And so I flew to Japan. I was in Hong Kong for like a month. I went to Japan. I got my official passport from the embassy there. And by the time I had gotten back in the country, like I got back to my I was planning on coming back, and I messaged my roommates, and they're like, "Yo, we got evicted. We couldn't afford rent."
Yeah.
Without you.
Yeah, and they were like trying to sell my guitar and like
my
all
God.
this stuff, and like so I talked to this girl online, and she let me like crash at her place, but we had this agreement that it was like just like platonic, like no like relationship, and then that's where I ended up. Her roommate was the investor of the nightclub.
Oh.
And so like but when I first got there, like something happened. We were out partying, and she like tried to come on to me, and then I was like, no, like we agreed to not do this. It's gonna be really weird. And she like kicked her roommate in the stomach that night, and like it was
She sounds like a firecracker.
she was a firecracker.
Yeah.
She got way too drunk, and then the next morning she like pulls me into the conversation because her roommate was like, "You kicked me in the stomach,"
Yeah.
and I saw it, and she goes, "Did she kick me in the stomach?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, she kicked you in the stomach. Yeah, you kicked her." And
Yeah.
she goes, "Get the fuck out!"
Damn.
Threw me out of the house. So I just like went with my 2 roommates who were also homeless, and we just like rode around on the circular line. There's like line 3 and 4, and they just go around in circles, and we just sat on line 3 and 4, and like it was like winter time. It really stunk, and like I remember having like I had cash in my apartment, and I told them, I was like, if you guys would have told me that like you were gonna get evicted, I would have let you use the cash, or at least had you grab it. They left. It was like $1,500, like emergency money, like at least to like get a plane ticket or something, you know. They left that. I had artwork, shoes, a bunch of stuff. They left all of that, and so we just rode that line, and I remember I had like no money to my name, and I had like 30 R&B between me and my buddy, and it was Christmas, and McDonald's is open like 24/7, so we would like sometimes hang out in a McDonald's at night.
Yeah.
And
As you do.
yeah,
Florida living. Yeah.
and I remember like spending Thanksgiving in Hong Kong alone, and then by the time I got back to China, I had spent Christmas in a McDonald's with my friend, and we had like $4, and we just spent all of our money on like double cheeseburgers and chicken nuggets, and we're like, "Merry Christmas, man!" Like, and then within like a few weeks after that, the woman who I opened the mansion with was like, "Hey, I have this apartment. Like, it was like a high-rise, like penthouse apartment." She's like, "But I need my ex out of there. He was staying in the apartment." I'm like, "I'll do it." She goes, "You can stay in the apartment if you can get him out." And so we just went in. He was on vacation, and we just packed all of his stuff. And like right as we're like finishing like unloading like the final boxes, he walks in. He's like, "Who the fuck are you? Where's all my shit?" And I was like, "Sorry, dude. She's in there if you want to talk to her." And I just like went outside, and I ended up being able to stay in his place, and then went from there to like living in the mansion
nightclub.
Yeah.
that we designed. Yeah.
Damn.
What a success story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to meet real Nigerian royalty, you know what I mean?
In prison.
The guy who's got the connects.
Yeah. Oh man, well, that's fascinating.
Yeah, that's insane tales. And what do you do now?
Now I'm actually writing. Like,
Okay.
I'm writing like a memoir, and then I have a business. I have a picture car company. So I do like higher end luxury like transportation, and then like picture cars for a lot of TV shows and movies and stuff.
Nice.
And then produce a show with my fiance. She's like a burlesque choreographer and director. So I do that. You know, I try to stay in the arts as much as possible, but
You're LA based now.
LA based.
Yeah.
And how can people find you? What's your Instagram, or so if you want to?
I mean, I guess like
You don't have to.
I'm
Or
Shanghai
anything you wanna-
Zack. That's
Shanghai Zack.
me. But my company is the Yes Culture.
Oh, cool.
And then her show is On the Fringe at Get on the Fringe. You know, she has a residency show at the Roosevelt every Saturday night.
Oh, cool. I
Fun,
love that
like-
place.
Yeah,
Nice.
great burlesque. It's like high concept burlesque, I would call it.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Fancy, very fancy.
Man.
Rick's a low concept.
Yeah.
Guy normally.
I need the concepts to be almost completely gone. Mentally, that's where I'm at as a person. Well, thank you, Zach. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah, very interesting. All right. Thanks, guys. Do you have anything you want to promote?
No, nothing.
Again, we're tremendously sorry about the world events that occurred yesterday, whenever yesterday might be. And thanks for listening, guys. Bye.